After the release of our YouTube video, I Blew Up My Porsche, we found the weak links on the path to 1,000 wheel horsepower and beyond. We received numerous requests for a 997 Turbo specific version. The previous video was more focused on the 996 Turbo, so many viewers wanted to see a similar video for the 997 Turbo. The 997 Turbo is a great car that can be easily modified to make even more power. In this video, we will show you many barriers or weak links you'll run into on your 997 Turbo and how to improve and strengthen them so that you can continue up your path to more power with the reliability you've come to respect in your car. We've had plenty of failures for sure. That's what happens when you push the envelope. Luckily, we've learned along the way how to avoid this and are making this video to share with you what we've found to help you save time and money. You can enjoy your passion with reliability built in from the start. If you're enjoying these videos, be sure to like, comment, and definitely subscribe so you won't miss any future videos. Let us know in the comments what you think about this topic and if there are any additional barriers you may have encountered in your own build. I'm sure you've already taken care of the basic maintenance issues such as spun cam sleeves and coolant bungs, so let's jump right in and get started with some mods. Tuning. When you start your upgrade path, tuning a turbo is the biggest bang for the buck you'll see. Not like GT3s and Carreras that struggle for a few horsepower here and there. A turbo has a huge advantage in tuning, namely boost. With a simple tune, you can quickly find 60 to 80 horsepower and 100 to 150 foot-pounds of torque. That's massive for doing nothing else. Here are some things you'll want to watch out for along the tuning path. This engine tends to be quite knock sensitive, much more so than the 996 Turbo, even though Porsche lowered the compression ratio from 9.4 to 9.0 to 1. California cars and other areas with low-octane fuel will be on the lower end of the spectrum for power gains here, while those with 93 octane US or even better European 98 or Shell Super 100 can have a lot more fun here. Be careful you choose your tuner wisely, and always log the car post-tune to check the boost, timing, and fueling. Don't trust that an off-the-shelf or generic tune has been thoroughly tested on all fuels and conditions. Your tuner may have an awesome tune that was created on Shell Super 100 over in the UK that may just melt your engine down in California. Let us help you there and build an amazing tune for your car, your fuel, and your local conditions, while also verifying you have no misfires, bank-to-bank imbalances, error codes, or other issues that may arise or have always been there and you didn't even know about it. Bricks. While bricks are great for building homes, they're not so good when your ECU becomes one. Even though flashing ECUs can be nearly 100% reliable, it's not 100% reliable. Your battery could die during flashing. Your dog could pull the cable out of your laptop. You could kick the cable out of the OBD2 port, or have a freak lightning storm. The 997 Turbo ECU can generally recover a flash, where the 996 Turbo won't. But that's also not 100%. So don't put yourself in a situation where you're flashing the car on the side of the road out in the middle of some desert and brick your ECU. Always flash in a safe place, just in case. Exhaust. The next barrier you'll run into is the exhaust. The stock exhaust performs well and is very quiet, maybe too quiet. A lot of people like to upgrade the exhaust just to make their car sound like a performance car and not wind whistling through the trees. Besides the sound, the exhaust becomes very restrictive very quickly when upgrading the power, since more power means more airflow and heat, which ends up exponentially increasing the exhaust flow demand. This is compounded again since the 997 Turbo utilizes VGT turbochargers with exhaust temperature sensors mounted in the inlet turbine flange. These are there to protect the VGT vanes from going into thermonuclear meltdown. With a performance tune and stock exhaust, the temps will get to a point where the ECU senses the exhaust temps are too high and will lower the boost, dump in a bunch of fuel, or back the throttle plate off, any of which will reduce the temps back to a safe point, and your tune is now producing less power than a stock car due to the exhaust back pressure and temps. There's a ton of exhausts out there to choose from, but of course, we're fond of our own for these cars. They sound great, have no drone, and will stick with you along the way to huge power gains. They'll also lower the EGTs, keeping your ECU out of the protection zone and lower the back pressure to improve boost response and power. Spark plugs. Yes, something as simple as a spark plug can quickly become a problem when tuning your car. As the torque increases, the combustion pressure rises, making it harder and harder for the plug to fire. You can fool it for a while with an overly rich condition that makes it easier to fire the plug, but there will come a point when they will start misfiring, and that's typically right across peak torque, which is a pretty broad range in the 997 Turbo, anywhere from low 3,000 to 5,500 RPMs. So if you're feeling a loss of power in the mid-range, and it's not from ignition retard from low-octane fuel, it may be misfire from your spark plugs. A fresh set of plugs, gapped down to 23 to 25 thousandths, should get you feeling good in the mid-range again. A lot of hot air. Now that you're running more boost, the turbos are producing hotter air simply from doing work on the air when compressing it. It's a pretty straightforward calculation to know what the outlet temp should be, knowing your inlet air temp, compressor pressure ratio, and compressor efficiency. There are many ways to counter this problem. Intercoolers. Intercoolers lower the intake air temps dramatically. The stock intercoolers are pretty good on a stock car, but even Porsche knew they could be better. The 997.2 turbo intercooler has a much larger core and revised inlet and outlet tanks for improving flow and cooling, but the intakes tend to leak since their plastic tank crimped to the core. Protomotive intercoolers are nearly double again the size of the .2 intercoolers, which are already 25 to 30% larger than .1s. But bigger is better can only go so far, since intercooler efficiency is directly proportional to the airflow through them. Front engine cars have a huge advantage in this area, and semi-trucks even more. Check out the intercooler in one of those babies if you ever get a chance. They're the entire front grille area of the truck. But that's totally necessary, since diesels tend to always be in boost and also run much higher boost levels than gasoline engines. Well, most gasoline engines. So while better intercooling is a huge benefit to inlet air temps, exhaust temps, oil temps, and mostly engine power through increased air density, too thick of an intercooler won't allow the ambient airflow through it, and they just become a brick. They're awesome when they're cold, since they're slow to heat up, but also slow to cool back down. We've developed our cores with a large ambient airflow channel to vastly improve the efficiency of the cores and optimize the thickness for the available area, having the net effect of high flow combined with great efficiency. All of this combined makes for a cooler running engine with much higher power capacity. The air intake system. From the air filter down to the turbo can have a significant effect on the air temps. You may be thinking it's just about airflow. But with turbos and compressors, you need to consider the compressor pressure ratio, like we just spoke about. Using the formula above, you can see that higher boost makes higher temps. But consider running the same boost with a more restrictive intake system. A restrictive intake system lowers the pressure, creating a vacuum in front of the compressor. This has the effect of increasing the pressure ratio across the compressor, just like running more boost. So if you're running 1 bar of boost unrestricted, that'd be a 2-to-1 pressure ratio. But with a restricted intake, in theory, pulling the ambient pressure down to negative 0.5 bar, you'll now be running a 4-to-1 pressure ratio, and your inlet temps will skyrocket due to the compressor having to compress the air times 4 times versus only 2. We tackle this with our super low restriction fender well intake systems that we've run up into the 1500s wheel horsepower range. So you can be pretty sure that it flows plenty when you're down in the sub 600s. Meth injection kits. If you've improved your air intake system and intercoolers, but maybe live in a high desert area where you just can't get any cooler, a meth injection kit is a great addition. It not only cools the intake air, but also raises the octane of the mixture to near race fuel levels. On a properly installed and tuned setup, you'll actually see your intake air temps go down when on boost. Now that's aggressive cooling. You'll commonly see 15 degrees C below ambient air temps in the 1 to 2 bar range. There's a lot of controversy about meth injection kits, and a lot of shops uncomfortable with installing them, but I really feel that's more due to a lack of understanding of what's going on there. You are literally installing a secondary fuel system in the car. I mean, no one would take it lightly replacing their fuel tank, fuel pump, fuel lines, or injectors. So why are people so complacent about meth kits and will just throw them in quickly to get down the road? This, I feel, is more where the issue come in, versus a very nicely installed system, tuned properly, can be a great addition to your car. With meth, your car can feel just as good during the hot summer months as it did during the winter, and raise the factor of safety up a massive amount on cars limited to lower octane pump fuels. Turbo compressors. When you're pushing your turbos hard enough, you'll start falling off the efficiency island and start making a lot of hot air versus more mass flow for your hungry engine. You may keep raising the boost, thinking more boost equals more power. But with more boost, with lower compressor efficiency and higher outlet temps, can end up being lower mass, resulting in less power. The higher outlet temps not only reduce the density, but also the tendency to knock, which is already a problem on this engine. You can upgrade your turbo compressors to help this. The stock turbos have about 28-pound compressors on them, so 560 horsepower at the crank is about all you'll see from them. With a nice set of compressor upgrades, you can push the car with the previously mentioned mods up into the 700 to 710 wheel horsepower range, or about 780 crank horsepower. Running too large of a compressor will start having an adverse effect though, since the turbine wheel is very small on the 997 Turbo. To go beyond this, we highly recommend swapping out to Garrett's, EFRs, Xonas, or just about any turbo family with a larger turbine wheel and more turbine flow. All of a sudden you'll be making very nice power without so much boost as the VGTs.
If you're enjoying this, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss part 2.